to go. Hi, gang. Hello, everybody. How are you?
A feather.
She has a feather.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Welcome in. Welcome back to Dinosaur Omelet Land this week. My name is Christopher.
I'm Angela.
Oh, gosh. It says no Angela down at the bottom. Sorry about that.
No,
She's here. That was the thing from last week.
Oh, that's
Whoopsie.
funny.
Yeah, so Angela is here. Sorry about that. Anyway, welcome, guys. Yeah, tonight we're talking about silky chickens and everything you should really know about them. And we're going to be getting into quite the depth about these birds. We'll pick one up. So people who are just tuning in, randomly wandering by, will be excited. So we have lots of chickens
Let me get her to get
to show.
Here's a lady.
I told Angela, because she's wearing black, she got a black chicken, it would camouflage right into her. But we'll be talking about their features, their feet, all the wonderful things about them.
Yeah, I guess they do kind of blend right in, don't they?
Yeah, so yeah, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down there. Oh, hey, Katie, how are you? Happy New Year. How are you? Good to see you. I've been monitoring you on the Facebook. You're doing quite a bit. You're learning lots of skills, which is awesome. So that's great. Let me switch back over here. All right, a little bit about us. If you're new here, my name's Chris. This is Angela. We're married people. We're married people. And hi, Alex. How are you? Thanks for coming in here. We're talking Silkies this week. I know last week I discussed about doing how to do quail business. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to put that together properly. So I want to take more time. And maybe even do it as a standalone video. That might work. Anyway, welcome. Yeah, so before we get started, few things. One, please don't take anything we're speaking about as your chicken medical advice. See your veterinarian. This is all fun and educational. But always consult with your veterinary professional. Number two, down in the description, there's lots of freebies, lots of free information for quail and chicken, keeping your quail and chicken fun. Easy to read stuff written for the kids, well, written for adults, but easy enough for the kids to understand. Simple stuff, chicken information, chicken digestion or digestive anatomy chart. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Mm-hmm. Tons of good stuff. I haven't looked through it recently, but I made all that stuff. We made all that here. So check that out. Anything else important? No?
I don't think so. I mean, we're a small hatchery, and we produce the jumbo Coturnix quail, the wild version, and just means really that they're brown. But we
as well as your fabulous Silkies.
We encourage people toward the jumbo quail for their high production of eggs and meat. And then, yes, quail we do have the silky chickens, our dino puffs for pets, to be loved by families.
So here's a quail egg. Angela will hold a chicken egg next to him.
Standard layer.
And right here is a silky egg. So you see the difference? Silky egg's a little smaller than a chicken egg, but larger than a quail egg. So good lighting. And you see, there's your quail egg. Anyway, the quail are cool. They lay about 300 per hen.
Per year.
Per year, and keep them in a hutch. Blah, blah, blah. Good animal, lots of food. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the beloved silky chicken. Do you have any final say before we begin then?
No, I think that's good.
All right, cool. Do you need your notes?
Right here. I will periodically hold a puppy.
It's here. Okay, great. I always do notes. I like to keep track of stuff. And they give you guys structure. Well, I think when we started first doing these, I just rambled off the top of my head, which was okay. Mm-hmm. But I like doing with notes I'm keeping here. So we want to talk about how the silky chicken is structurally different, mechanically different.
It's okay. You're okay.
Behaviorally different, and its needs, its housing needs, its and its nutritional needs, and what differentiates from the regular growing breeds. So please explain what a bantam chicken is.
A bantam is essentially, it's like a mini chicken, and it's a category. It's like a group. There's lots of different bantams. People are familiar with like Saramas, they're really tiny. But it's like a class. So standard breeds are the bigger breeds that people are most familiar with that lay a lot of eggs. And then bantams, which Silkies are.
They lay eggs.
They lay eggs, yes. But
they're not standard like egg laying breeds.
Yeah, these guys, they lay eggs, but they're just a little different.
I often hear them referred to as ornamental chickens, like you're just sitting them around in the yard.
Yeah, they're because they're pretty and they're fluffy and you can get all kinds of colors.
So with chicken breeding, there's a thing called the standard of perfection, and that's really, I suspect, for like shows and breeding. It's technical, and they're going by very specific traits in a bird.
Yes, standard of perfection is for anything that is categorized, like judged or like official. Like so, breeds of dogs, cats, horses, all kinds of animals that people show, and chickens as well. It's a standard, like what if the bird were perfect, you know, form you're chatty, form wise, like there's specific detailed things that breeders will focus on to make sure the breed itself is staying to what it's supposed to look like. So it's like
yes. The reason I'm mentioning that is that we're not focusing on standard of perfection for showing. Like we want to have nice form birds, have them proper, but they're not being bred for shows.
Well, like, so as a breeder, for me, I am trying to stay as close as possible to the standard of perfection. I'm not showing them.
That's what I'm saying.
However, when people show, since we're talking about chickens, that's what I'm going to talk about, but you can apply it to any animal that people can show. When people show silkies, and they're hatching chicks, and they're hatching, and they're hatching, and they're hatching, not all of those chicks are going to mature to be show worthy or even breeder worthy. Hi, I know. There will still be a few defects that pop up or things that just will knock points off in the showroom when they're being judged. So a breeder who's showing, they will be selectively breeding and picking a few birds from a lot of birds to then grow and continue to watch and make sure they're filling out properly in their form and everything, in order to get a show-worthy bird. But even high quality breeders, in the sense that they've been breeding for many years, following as closely as possible to the standard of perfection, they may still struggle to get a bird that's, perfect for showing. So I don't show, however, I do focus on the standard of perfection so that I'm always improving generations and my line is always improving. Right. And when I bring in new birds, new roosters and such, the intent is that it's a bird that's better than what I already have to continue improving the form and such. Yeah, so when you're breeding, it's easy to drift toward a compromised if you're
feature.
Not being intentional.
Yeah, if you're not being intentional. This is why that we talked about with quail. Like you can get quail, somebody's ordering quail, like it's chicken and quail ordering season again almost. And so we're not researching a breeder who's actually following a breeding program. It's not hard to multiply animals. You just put them together and bam, baby animals. So the skill is selecting the traits that you want to have, reproducing. I don't want to talk too much about like the whole SOP thing,
but for me, I particularly enjoy working with people who want them for pets. That's like, I really enjoy seeing you guys, visiting and meeting you guys face to face, and like you're getting your new Silkie, your Dino Puff Silkies. Like I just really enjoy that. So my focus is specifically breeding them to produce nice quality birds as pets rather than pursuing the show.
So I mean, you saw her holding the Silkie. It was very calm, but that's not always the case. You can find people with Silkies.
Yeah, temperament is definitely something. It's a breed trait, but it's something that you have to be intentional on to make sure they stay friendly and sweet.
So anyway, that was a little tangent. I didn't mean to go too deep into that, but standard of perfection is going to come up later again when I talk about their skin and feet. Okay, cool. So Silkies are distinct. They're different, and they're physiologically different. Well, obviously, because what makes them a Silkie? I think that's the main feature. Their feathers.
Yeah.
Their feathers. I think there's three main features of the Silkie chicken that we will discuss that make them very distinct. Of course, the feathering, their feet. They have an extra little toe. Do you want to show their extra toe? Polydactyly. Polydactyly. So they have more toes than a regular chicken. How many toes they got? 14?
So they have 5. Can you hold her foot in such a way that they can see?
I'll make her too upset. So they have 5 toes. I don't know if you can see that 5th one out there, as opposed to 4. And that, of course, was specially bred into them. They have melanosis or fibromelanosis. They have dark skin. They have extra melanin in the skin. Melanocytes are these cells that produce the melanin, and they have an abundance of that, more than regular chickens. And that, again, of course, is bred specifically and intentionally bred into the Silkies. But the feathers are we are going to be, I think, talking about next, and why that's pretty important. Not just because they're pretty. What did you want to say?
I have 3 Silkies down here. They're all dark colored, and I think I just picked up the same one. I was wanting to give her a break. So if you see me swapping birds, they are different ones, but yeah, I'm just giving them.
All right, feathers. Let's talk about the feathers. So the feathers are a pretty big deal with Silkies. Yes, they're pretty. We like them to be fluffy. You're breeding them to have their fluffy feathers and consistent coloring, etc., and all that good stuff. But the structure of the feathers, what's pretty neat. What is feather made of? It's made of keratin. Keratin is a type of protein, right? And the feather is dead tissue. It's dead tissue. It's grown at the cellular follicle level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sprouts out, and you have this nice structured feather. If they're eating properly, if you have deficiency in the diet, you can have poor feathers. The thing about the silky feathers and why they're fluffy, okay, I should have brought a chart. I didn't bring a chart, but isn't that hard to understand? Think like a tree with, what's the thing called? A trunk.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a rachis, the main central shaft of a feather, okay? And what do we do when we look at a regular chicken feather? It has those little barbs coming off, which are called the barbs. They're extending off of the central shaft, and they interconnect with barbules, and they zip together with hooklets or barbus cells.
Edge of the feather.
And the little microscopic regions where the feathers hook together at the end, you know, when you stroke a feather, it goes right back into place. Silkies lack that last tiny microscopic structure called a barbus cell, where it's like a zipper function, and they all hook together. So you have this Muppet-looking mishmash.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Muppets have those feathers.
Yeah, so that's why they're so fluffy. And then also the wings, they have like a tattery. They're supposed to be at the edges there. They're a little bit tattery on the Silkies, rather than clean all the way down the way they're supposed to be.
Now, I'm going to talk about why this is metabolically costly or food costly. Like, it's an energy and nutritional cost that's going to differentiate them from standard breeds. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a second. I just wanted to mention that feather structure. We're still talking about feathers. So, Angela W., these feathers, they keep the chickens warm. Mm-hmm. But what happens if they get wet?
So their feathers are not resistant to water like most other breeds with that tight zipping feather form. They're resistant to some water, but if they're in rain or if they're in water for, an extended period, then they just start soaking it up.
They get wet and they look like these pathetic little sticks.
Yeah, they'll just, their feathers are no longer fluffy. They, mat down against them. And then the feather's not able to do its job and properly insulate, keep them warm or keep them cool.
That's something to be aware of. So if you have Silkies or you're going to raise Silkies, you're thinking about Silkies, their environment's important, where they can find shelter from the rain, mm-hmm. and to actually monitor them, because, they're not the most highly intelligent creatures.
Yeah, they're generally low energy, docile.
They may get drenched. So you want to keep an eye out, especially, fall, winter, early spring when it's cold out.
Right.
They're not going to be insulating. The whole way we insulate feathers, your clothing, none of that stuff. I don't want to say it doesn't keep you warm, but it's not the thing warming you. What warms the animal, what warms us is our body heat. And then, like a chicken, it's their body heat, and they have a layer to insulate, to trap the heat so it can't go anywhere.
Yeah, the heat is the layer from their skin, under the skin and the underside of the feathers, that layer of heat.
Yeah, and that's what's keeping them warm. Their body heat keeps them warm when the feathers are functioning and traps the heat, which they do when they're dry and when they have properly structured feathers. When they get wet, okay, they're matted, they're stuck together. Mm-hmm. There's no trapping of heat, or not very much. So they're going to be losing heat, and especially in the cold weather.
Yeah, and during the winter time with cold winds, harsh winds, standard breeds. I mean, with the regular feather type is what I mean. They are able to withstand winds better, but all breeds really should have a wind break against harsh winds.
This is general chicken care.
General chicken care. Silkies, however, because they aren't firm, their feather type is fluffy. The wind, this is very much like an ostrich. The wind will, move their feathers around and break that heat barrier that they formed, and then they can get chilled from being in the wind.
I'm forbidden from picking up chickens.
He just tends to squeeze the poor ladies.
Yeah,
an ostrich being in that hot temperature that they're in their environment, their feathers are fluffy and bounce around like silkies, which is good for them because the wind helps move the heat away and keep them cool. That's why their feathers are nice and light and fluffy.
Yeah, the reason I picked up this little chicken for you guys, black shirt and black chicken, is to show you, you may even want to trim around their eyes, because they do get so much fluff on their eye. If you have a well-bred little silky, they're going to have these big pom-poms on their head, and it obscures their vision. This is not a naturally occurring bird. This bird would be eaten up in about 2 minutes in the wild. So you have to take that into consideration. So you trim their eyes up, right?
Yep, I trim. When I move them, you can see her little, I don't know, she had her own. So when I move them around from pen to pen, there's a little pretty eye, I will trim. It does grow back. But I do trim because it makes them more confident, more, they move around, they're more curious. I always encourage people who are bringing silkies home, she looks like she's getting a Lancey, to do that too, because it's a new area and you want them to be confident and curious and moving around. When they're in a place for a while, they're familiar and their feathers are now like this, all over their eyes. They're used to it and they can see through and they feel comfortable in their area, but so that they're fine with it being long. But if you move them to a different spot, then definitely, trim it so that they can be confident and find their food and water easily.
The other thing with their hair, the other thing with their hairstyle is that they can't look up to see predator birds.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue with hawks or predator birds, keep an eye out for them, or at least trim their eyes. Or if you have a good rooster, like a guard rooster does a good job, right? Oh, one last thing. Why don't you show them, if you can, their ears?
Well, it's
kind of hard.
Their ear away. So
what color?
The silkies. Oh, you have pretty eyes. They're supposed to be a nice blue. I don't know if you see that. Kind of hard. Her earlobe.
Kind of hard.
Yeah. Anyway, if you ever see the blue, that's the earlobe. So it's right underneath the ear. And yeah, it's supposed to be blue.
All right. One more thing. A couple more things about these silky feathers, and why this has to do with their care. So these silky feathers, they're not stiff. They're not secure like a regular chicken, so they're more susceptible to wear, right?
Yes.
They're more susceptible to wear and damage. And so what does this mean? It means the bird is going to turn over new feathers. So
more often too.
Yeah, so you'll often hear, like, you don't need to be crazy about it, but you need to be aware that these birds are turning over feathers, which is keratin, which is protein, which is expensive. Metabolically speaking, they're going to have, you want to have an appropriate diet. Methionine and lysine, which we talked about before, the amino acids, limiting amino acids. They should have all of their essential amino acids, of course, but the methionine is the primary limiting amino acid for their feathers and for their other proteins, followed by their lysine. And why am I mentioning this? Mm-hmm. If you're using a commercial feed, it'll be blended probably appropriately. So the percentages are, what is it for lysine? This is like 2%. Yeah, for lysine, it's almost 1%. It's about 0.8, 0.9%. And methionine is going to be the concentration of about 0.4%. Not that you need to remember that. If you're feeding them a quality feed, and there is a difference, the feed will probably have the appropriate amount of amino acids in it. But what happens is you may be feeding and supplementing with junk food, like the chicken version of junk food with scratch grain or bread hunks or things like this. Yeah, filler stuff. It's calories. It might be calorie dense, but not nutritionally available or bioavailable for them in the way they need. I mean, they may be accessing calories or even fats, but they might not be getting their amino acids. So what you'll see on feed labels is the protein may be listed as crude protein. And what the problem with crude protein, when you're thinking protein, you think like a human, like, oh, yeah, I ate 30 grams of protein. So that's great, but the question is, how much of the protein is usable by the animal? Okay, usable bioavailable protein. Crude protein, you may have protein from corn, wheat, these have protein in it, but it's not usable to the chicken as much as soy or fish meal or insects. That's what I like to scratch it out. So methionine is going to be present in especially insects when they're out foraging in a yard. But still, I wouldn't rely on, what do you call it, free ranging to ensure that they get adequate methionine in their diet. So just do be careful with that. Do your research on your birds' nutrition, your bird's food nutrition profile. Make sure they're getting the right nutrients, just like people. You eat right, you live better. Correct?
Yeah, and so the Silkies, so standard layer breeds, you'll see on the layer feeds, they are usually like, they range from like 16% protein to 18% protein. These guys, these ladies, the Silkies, because of their, excuse me, their feathers, the amount of energy it takes for them to grow their feathers out, and they're kind of lightly molting pretty often. You'll see feathers just kind of like, float around. They'll have the regular large molt like other breeds at the 18 months, but they all have light molts as they're just being alive. And so that's a little higher energy intake for them. It takes a lot of energy for them to do that. So usually it's good to have them on like the adults on like an 18 to 21% protein. But like Christopher just explained, the type of protein is important because of the lysine, the methionine, the right amounts in there, so that it's quality protein.
So Katie had a very good question. Is feather picking an indicator of methionine deficiency? Yeah. So, I looked into this a while ago, a long time ago, because you're going to see feather picking, but it's not what I originally thought it was what's called like nutritional wisdom. Animals know what they need to eat to get missing nutrients. But that's not what's happening. It's just a behavioral indicator. They're just acting, stressed, and their behavior changes because they're not getting their needs met. They're not eating feathers for the methionine. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. So feather picking, So if they're
however,
if there's levels are low, but it could also be
feather picking could be caused by a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it could be stress. So like the dietary, needs not being met, but could be stress. If you have birds, it could be different types of poultry, but if they're in a space where they don't have enough, like they're hot and maybe they're in a cramped space, they might pick maybe their chicks that are growing out in a brooder or something, and they're warm. They can pick just because they're too close and they're agitated and hot. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
No, Alex asked a good question. Would it be okay to use the quail feed in regards to protein?
So if you're looking at the nutritional label, just make sure it has the right amount of lysine and methionine. I think did you mention the amounts? The protein for an adult Silkie should be around, if it's good quality protein, and when I say, again, good quality is the proper amounts of methionine and lysine. And usually
bioavailable amino acids, not just crude protein.
Yeah, so usually it's the animal type proteins, the fish meals. There's crab. There's different types of.
So like feed, if feed was strictly bugs, it would be ungodly expensive. It's super expensive. It's animals. Okay, so every feed that's animal or insect is going to be cut. Like they're cutting it with, they're supplementing. Here's the grains. here's the smaller scoop of insects.
Mhm.
So but you're still getting their nutritional needs met if it's as long as it's indicating there. I think, are you asking like a 1-to-1 issue, like if it's got 18% protein?
So yeah, it's if you're not it depends on the type of quail feed you're feeding and the amount of protein. So the higher proteins content, the higher protein content
Right.
feeds like 26%, 30%, you can run into issues feeding an adult bird high protein content like
Yes.
that.
So when they have, let me explain that because that's important. So when they have extra protein, excessive protein that they're not going to be able to use, they have to excrete it.
Mhm.
Okay. It's a waste, and they have to use water to do it. And that's a nitrogen waste in their body. It's stressing their body to have too much protein.
Yeah, so it could be detrimental to their functionality internal. Really, the higher proteins are good for when they're growing, but even silky chicks growing, they don't even need that much. It's more like 21 to 24% while growing. And then once they're mature, they're not growing anymore. They're maintaining their feathers. And another reason why their nutritional needs are a little bit more than standard breeds is because they go broody pretty often too, and that's really draining on their body. So they need to replenish that. But yeah, so it just depends on your quail feed, what your nutritional label says as far as ingredients go.
Yeah, but each one is formulated specifically for the animal.
Yeah,
there's certain
specific type of poultry.
Yeah,
She's a sweetie.
I'm sure you could do that in a pinch. Again, not medical advice or chicken advice.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, it certainly doesn't have to say silky chicken on the label. Just like us people, like yeah, as long as it meets our needs.
All right, now what was I yapping about? The feathers. Okay, feathers proliferate, they grow and spread rapidly. So the whole keratin thing, again, with the methionine, it's very important because keratin is strength. The keratin, which is the feather structure, depends on a disulfide bond, okay, a molecular, an amino acid bond, and that's going to be determined by first level, the methionine, like are the amino acids being met? If you're seeing poor feather structure, that can also be an indicator of chronic stress and other issues, a sick animal, okay?
Mhm.
But you always go top down, like what's the most likely causal factor, and then keep descending, after that. Okay, it wasn't this, maybe it was that. And that's how you problem solve. But if the chicken's health is in dire straits, take him to the chicken doc. And Verona's here. Hey, hon.
Yeah, so she put a couple comments.
Oh, she did?
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't see. Okay, thank you. I need to learn this. I want Silkies in the future and want them as beautiful as yours. Aw.
Thank you.
Hi, Verna. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, the Silkies are great. I mean, there's a million breeders. You just want to make sure you get a good breeder.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
And I
very
guess you're
true.
going to be
So
shipping this spring, hopefully.
yeah, I'm hoping to, yeah. But it is important that you, with any animal or with, any living thing, that you're starting from a good foundation. And what I mean is that the animal's health, the breeder is known for breeding healthy, vibrant, strong animals. And sometimes with these ornamental breeds, people may just keep them in very, very clean areas, maybe like a barn, and they don't ever go outside. And they might be picking them on strictly visual things, like the fluff, the amount of fluff, and start neglecting the focus of a robust immune system, hardiness, and the birds might end up becoming very delicate.
And it's hard to see if you're not really handling these birds. It's hard to tell what their form looks like underneath there because of their fluff.
Yeah, they should sit a certain way. But so for me, I'm a big fan of making sure to balance hardiness, vibrant health, with the continual progression of their form and the way they're supposed to look. I love feeding them fermented feed. We have the feed that we make here. We feed our birds, but I also ferment it There's lots of really good probiotics in it. There's probiotics before it's fermented that we add, and then there's a lot more probiotics after being fermented. So that just helps their immune system. And I really don't have health issues with our birds because that's very important to me. I don't breed delicate birds. I want them to be what Silkies are supposed to be, but yeah, healthy and robust.
Cool. Berna said, I think people need to learn and to set up how they want to raise them, getting their area ready before they buy them. Oh my God,
Yeah, very, very good point, Berna.
I mean, we've had a couple people who are like, we got a problem.
We've had plenty of people. Yeah.
We try to give people education part, but it's absolutely right. You don't want to get an animal and not have a habitat that is going to be
I've had lots of
supportive.
new people, new to chickens in general, and they tend to do really well. They follow to a T, like the best things to do, and they listen well. Then there's people who they're pretty much accustomed to standard breeds. And these guys, they are different than the standard breeds. They do, like we talked about their feathers earlier. If they get wet, it's like matted down on them, and then debris and stuff gets stuck in their feathers. And being smaller in size, that can make they're not as hardy internally as those bigger breeds that are, when they're always pecking around and stuff. So you do have to make sure to maintain a tidy, not wet area. You want a dry area. And so with the larger breeds, sometimes we can get away with just the area not being as tidy as for a longer period of time than like with the Silkies.
Not a pigsty.
Yeah, then these guys, you do have to maintain a certain
Remind
level.
me after I tell you what I'm about to tell you to talk about their temperament in regards to introducing them to new chickens.
Okay.
But because I'll forget, I have a brain and one ear out the other. All right, fibromelanosis. What am I looking here? Before I get into anything, I always research first, set up a good foundation for the animal before getting the animals.
That's very responsible.
Yeah, I wish everybody was like that.
That's so good for you and so good for your animals. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go on a rant, but this whole impulsive, the culture of impulse, instant gratification.
And that's just been increased by social media and everything's instant.
The internet. I tell you, wait a minute, I'm on the internet. Oh no, I'm contributing. No, I'm trying to add the education. Okay, fibromelanosis. So what is this? Well, one of the cool things about the Silkie that you didn't see, this is why I wanted to have a white Silkie, they have black skin.
Oh.
They have black skin and they have black meat. And this is going to be sounding horrible, but I think they're a delicacy. And can you see their... It's kind of hard. No, you can't see that. Just don't even waste the time. But they have black skin and it goes down into the flesh and connective tissues. Yeah. Why is this?
Can you see that? It's like it looks like a gray or blue. The skin. Can you see that on the camera? I can't tell. But yeah, it's not flesh colored.
Show their toes. Berna, I don't know why it's hiding your message. Show their toes. Yeah, we talked about them earlier. The polydactyly.
Hold her a different way.
The multi-toes. Can you get them up here?
Yeah. So they have 5. So there's the 3 and then the 2 and the pointing in toward the. Can you point at them? There's the 2 on the sun right here.
Yeah, you have this little stubby weird one right there.
And then the other one right here.
Yeah. So what do you got? 7, 5,
they have
4.
5.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that's intentionally bred. So there's 2 genes that I talk about, gene expression. The one is EDN3. I forget what the EDN stands for. EDN3. Donis, what's going on? Hey there. Hi. Thanks for stopping in. So the EDN3 is for the black fibromelanosis. And what that is, it's producing melanocytes in abundance. And the melanocytes are the things that produce a molecule called melanin. We have melanin. Do I have any spots? I think I have a spot here or there. But that gives us our nice color, and it gives the chicken their black. They just have an abundance of the melanocytes, or the cells that produce the melanin. The other gene has a cooler name, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog gene. That's what it's called.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's called the Sonic the Hedgehog gene. I was looking into the polydactyly and SHG. I think that's what it is. Sonic SGH, Sonic Hedge SHH, whatever it is. Anyway, it's Sonic the Hedgehog gene because the guy who was naming it something. I don't want to give you bad information, but it had to do with Sonic the Hedgehog. I think he liked the character at the time.
Nuh-uh. Really?
Why would I lie to these people?
That's funny.
So the polydactyly gene is the Sonic the Hedgehog gene, which I thought was cool. And yeah, these are, what do you call them? Standard of perfection issues. Like if you're chicken, you're going in to show your chicken at the local Silkie chicken show, and it's got regular pink chicken skin, they're disqualified.
Yeah. So yeah, and sometimes you'll see it a lot. I mean, you can see it in the darker colors, but like especially with the paints, just because of the color with the DNA and all that, the genetic makeup. Sometimes they can end up with like pink fleshy spots on their feet. But yes, they are supposed to be dark.
Brandy Swift. Hi, Brandy. She asked an excellent question. I love this question because we make our own feed. She said, of the feed subject, can you tell us about the feed you make for your Silkies? How often do Silkies lay? Verna asked. I'll answer Verna's because that one's easy.
Yeah, they lay generally like 4 or 5 times a week, probably more like 5. And then once they go broody, they stop. It depends on how long they're broody for. It depends on the hen.
Yeah, but they're very good broody animals. You can hatch eggs with them.
Mm-hmm.
Other animals' eggs. I bet you can hatch an alligator's egg with that chicken. Anyway, moving on to your feed question. So feed's very important, and we make a very good feed. And we've been making our own feed. We feed our feed to our chickens every day. Angela ferments the feed, and we'll talk about that in a second. But tell us about our feed. So our feed is...
So we worked strictly with Fertrell. They are an agricultural company. They are poultry nutrition specialists, and they're also they also produce. They work with people to produce other feeds for other animals, like cows, goats, all that stuff.
Yeah, let me give you the cheap, quick version. We feed them whole grains. Fermented whole grains. The feed is supplemented with fish meal, okay? And it's supplemented with 2 Fertrell amino acid and probiotic products to increase amino acid availability and the probiotics, which are little microorganisms living in the gut microbiome.
Yeah, so it's a mix of like 7 or 8 whole grain ingredients measured out to meet the need that they need while they're eating per batch, as well as a breeder and show supplement, like Christopher was just saying, in a NutriBalancer.
So the thing with the feed, a chicken is designed to eat a specific diet, which was what their ancestor eats, the Gallus, the red jungle fowl. Chickens today are bred to be large. They have different needs now. They are larger, but their physiology is very similar, practically the same in their digestive and metabolic needs. And they're designed to eat bugs, mice, frogs, grains, like the things chickens forage for. They're foragers, they're scratchers. In their natural habitat, the original wild chicken is a small bird. It's a pound or 2. It's a very small animal. It's got a much lower metabolic need. It's not laying eggs every day. So it's going to get all its diet from its free ranging. Now we have these big animals that are laying eggs every day. Okay. They're larger. And so now we have to supplement their food. They're going to need higher calories, higher protein, higher everything, just because they're larger structure and their higher metabolic needs or energy production needs and cellular growth needs. So you want to supplement the feed. I always try to say this to make it sound exactly what it is. You're giving them an artificial diet. Anytime you're not giving them something is a natural environment, you're supplementing it. It's artifact. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you're doing it properly. The grains, and what I was saying earlier about fermenting, I hope this isn't too much info. The reason we ferment, and fermenting is beneficial for the chicken, it's beneficial for us. When you ferment foods, what happens, and it doesn't take long, it's a day or 2 process.
Well, ideally, you'd like to do it for like 3 or 4 days. But it does start happening pretty promptly.
Oh, it starts very quickly. I ferment my people food for myself in about a day.
Mm.
But fermenting partially digests or breaks down the hard to digest compounds in food, microorganisms, lactobacillus bacteria, which are naturally present in the air, in the environment, already on the seeds. You don't have to add this to anything. You just dump your grain into a bucket and pour water over it and cover it, and it will begin to naturally ferment. The microorganisms come to life and they start breaking down the hard starches. And as a benefit, first of all, you will have the proliferation of these microorganisms. They're probiotics. They'll get past the digestive tract and into their gut to populate. And also what's happening is their metabolic byproducts. They produce vitamins. They're producing nutrient density into the food. So the food is actually not only, and it's more digestible. So it's more bioavailable. It's got a higher concentration of vitamins, and it has living organisms that are very beneficial for their digestion. That's a lot, but you can super boost regular grain simply by fermenting it for these birds. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we make our grain. Let me get a
You're very cute.
grain label.
The actual label.
Yes, I do. Here's the back label for our chicken feed. And this is on all chicken feeds, or animal feeds anyway, you should see a little thing like this, usually a card. It's the guaranteed analysis. It's going to tell you the minimums of what's in there: protein, fat, fiber, calcium. And there's something called, as I was saying earlier, crude protein listed. Okay. And you're like, oh, it's meeting its need with X amount of protein. Well, go down into the ingredient list and see what that ingredient list actually is. Cheap feeds like to use fillers like wheat midlands or just grain byproducts. But what happens, see, I don't like to treat people like idiots because I don't like being treated like an idiot. And marketers,
it's just like with people food.
They love to treat people like idiots. So what they do is they take the cheapest garbage ingredients, put it in a bag, and then put a beautiful picture of chickens looking happy on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then the impulse purchase, the consumer who cares about their animal says, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to buy this chicken feed. Looks really healthy. But if they look at the ingredients, it's not, it depends. Like some people don't care. They feed their chickens just scraps and hope they don't die. But if you care about your animals, you want to give them a proper diet. Brandy, I want to avoid this for future. You want to avoid what, young lady? What are we talking about?
Was there a comment right before?
Oh, you're right. Maybe there was. Oh, sorry. Let me read your comments here. Where do you get the fish meal and other supplements? Or are they in it? Do you also sell it with a feed? Sorry for all the questions. No, I like your questions. My one little girl is suffering from vitamin deficiency. Well, so yeah, we get our ingredients from local mills. So it's all fresh local ingredients. We get our fish meal from a local mill.
Mm-hmm.
And we mix it here. And that's the other thing too. I could do a whole hour on teaching you about feed because it's actually pretty complex. Things to realize, top things are read the ingredients because there's a lot of cheap filler ingredients that are bad for them. Just wheat midlands, green byproducts, crap like this. It's not really, it's just junk food. It's like white bread or Doritos. Number 2, did I forget number 2?
I'm not, well, you didn't say it.
Well, I forgot number 2.
It is important to, whatever you're feeding, make sure you understand the nutritional content as is. And if you're adding anything to it, it's important to understand, to do research to understand how much of whatever you're going to be adding. And
this is so much information. There's 3 things. There's as is, or I forget what the terms are. I do this all the time. I don't know why it's forgetting me. As labeled nutritional content. Okay. So technically, I scoop a scoop of food up, and this is the amount of nutrients in a scoop of food, That does not mean that's the amount of nutrients inside of the critter or inside of the person, because you have to take into, there's waste.
Processing.
The bioavailability, can the animal digest it? Is it absorbing the nutrients? Is it breaking it down properly?
How fresh are the ingredients?
Right.
So we're a big fan of whole grains because they're not compromised. The whole grain has all of the nutritional content within each ingredient, each grain. Once it's cracked open and ground up, now it's exposed to the air. Oxidation starts
It rapidly
to happen,
breaks down.
and then that nutritional content within that ingredient isn't, it breaks
So
down.
they may have like calories in there, but the micronutrients are deficient or starting to decline, especially over time and heat and transport. So like, what do you call them? Pellets. Everybody feeds them pellets, but depends on what you're doing. Those pellets are heated, that degrades some
They're
nutrients.
ground up, then they're heated.
If you want to get nuts and you look at it at a microbiological level, it's really fascinating, because then they're going to be supplementing vitamins back into a feed sometimes to compensate for what's lost, and those are synthetic and they're made. And you can go on for this forever. It's really complex stuff. But simply just feed them what they are designed for. People are afraid to feed whole grains to chickens because of a psychological hang-up. The thing is, oh, they're not going to get a full diet because they're just going to eat no, they're going to eat what they need. And then they're like, and then it's a whole grain. That's hard to digest. For us, but the chicken have teeth in their stomach with their gizzard. That gizzard grinds that stuff up really, really well.
Which is why you feed them grit, or why you provide grit.
Thank you so much. I'll reach out and order some feed and get more info. Hey, Brandon, if you have a feed question, let me know. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I really like nutrition science. I mean, I make all of our human food from scratch, and I try to formulate that for our health and our well-being.
Verna asks, as I ferment the grain, does it sprout? When Christopher is fermenting our people food, that sprouts. It doesn't. I think if I let it go longer, certain ingredients might start sprouting. But no. And so the way he's fermenting our people food, like whatever type of bean, he will, you soak it and then you.
Well, then I'm not fermenting it. I do sprout so with the human food, we don't possess the phytate enzymes. They're enzymes that break down these compounds in legumes and some seeds. Phytates, they're binding nutrients. They're for the plant, not for humans to eat. So when you soak a bean and you pour it out and you see that cloudy fluid, some of that is phytates or phytic acid. This is an anti-nutrient, or binding it makes you bloaty and gassy. It's not good. So yeah, you soak the bean, or even better, sprout it, because this starts to break down and break down and break down, and it bemes more digestible.
But the sprouting
bioavailable. Sprouting does that. Fermenting will also help do that.
Well, I'm sorry. So if we are intentionally wanting to sprout, the process looks different.
Sprouting stuff for your chickens is great.
It is really, it's very good.
If you can find like a 50-pound bag of cheap beans or something, and you want to give them a treat, don't feed them raw beans. Sprout them.
Yeah, it's just as it's healthy like it is for us. But what I'm trying to say is, when you're intentionally trying to sprout, you may soak it initially, and then you dump the water out. And then you'll might spread the seed out on a tray or something. And then mist it, and you just, you have to watch for mold and such, but you're not generally they're not kept soaking the entire time for days. When I ferment, it's always submerged in water.
Yeah, no oxygen's getting to it.
Yeah, so occasionally there might be one or two or a few here and there that sprout, but generally they don't. They just expand and.
Yeah, so sprouting, they're not going to be covered. Soak them for 8 to 12, maybe even 24 hours, depending on the bean or the grain, whatever it is. Dump it, and then let it sit. I soak everything, like even oatmeal. I prefer to let that soak overnight. Nobody would think that. Why would you do that? Same reason. There's still phytates and compounds in there. It breaks it down. It's easier to digest and more bioavailable. If you eat that kind of stuff, rice, grains, and you cook them, try soaking them, even if you don't normally. Normally I just put rice in the pot and cook it. No. Take your brown rice, and you should eat brown rice because it's got the husk and the nutrients in it. But whatever, either kind of rice, soak it. And let those. Rice has arsenic and other compounds in it. Overnight.
Okay, so soak it overnight.
And just as an experiment, see if you like it better. If it's
And for those of you wondering more about the fermenting, you can ferment any feed. It doesn't have to be a specific feed. People even ferment like the crumble and the pellets. Of course, that type is going to become a mash or like, but you don't have to, if you want the benefits of fermenting, but you don't want to do all of your feed fermenting, you could always just do a little bit as a supplement to give them those fresh, active probiotics. And you can do a small amount and then just keep it in your refrigerator and serve them a little bit. But yeah, the sprouting, that's really good for them.
All right. That was a bit of a tangent on feed. I'm going to go back to the Silkies because we're going to finish up in a second here. The thing I was asking about Silkie, introducing Silkies to existing pens with either other Silkies or larger breeds.
So if you, some people are very successful integrating Silkies with other breeds. Things to keep in mind.
Oh, have a great night, Verna.
Bye, Verna. Is the temperament will be different. Silkies, as you can see when I'm holding them, let me see, who should I pick up here? Let me pick you up. I don't know if you're going to lay an egg. You can see they're calm. This is their energy. They're sitting in a tote that's open on the floor here.
They're good.
They're not jumping. Yeah, this is what they do.
And they like being picked up.
Yeah, they're
affectionate social critters.
And they bond with you. So keep that in mind with other breeds that are not Silkies. It's best to match them with lower energy or very friendly temperamented breeds. I don't know that that's a word, but I would discourage having them with hyper energetic birds. They're just very different. These guys, this is how they eat too. They just meander to the bowl. They just kind of eat. It takes several hours for them to kind of like finish up eating because they'll eat a little bit and then they'll walk away and they'll come back. Other breeds gulp it down as fast as they possibly can, and then there's nothing left for these guys.
All right. So quick thing, when you're introducing a chicken to a run with birds, one of the things we suggest, and this is after they have their quarantine time.
Yes.
You want to give them a couple weeks, preferably at least, separated from the other birds.
Well, so just to finish up with what I was saying, the reason why it's important to properly match temperaments is because these guys tend to get bullied then because they don't act like the other ones. And it's not as easy for them to see. So they get pecked. They don't see the birds coming. They'll get pecked, which can be harmful. That can be very harmful for them to get pecked on the head. But yeah, so I always encourage. So other breeds, I've heard people will just put them in the coop at night, put them inside the house, the coop at night, and then in the morning, everybody comes out. Nobody knows anything's different. These guys, you don't want to do that. If you put a Silkie in a new coop at night, in the morning, everybody else will run out and the Silkie will stay in there because they will just be like, oh, I guess this is my new world, this box. They just don't. Because they're just slow and they're not as brave, I guess. They're just more like they just look at things slower and they don't need as much space too. Like they can be content in a smaller space. But you don't want them to then emerge at the doorway and then everybody else sees them and they're like, oh, you don't belong here. So then you get a problem. Easiest thing to do, and you can do this with other breeds, is during the daytime when you can see everyone, take a bunch of foreign objects like a chair, a board. You could slant a board, put a bucket upside down and weight it, put a whole bunch of random stuff inside of the run, the open space that they share. And the current flock will get very fussy about what's going on in their territory. They're going to start buck-bocking and looking at these things and they'll get upset about it. But the point is, they're confused.
Chickens they're not dumb. They have very good memories.
Yeah, they are territorial. So then at that point, put your Silkies in or your other chickens, just put them in there. They won't know anything's different, but the other birds won't even notice because they'll be fussing so much over these items that you put in that space. Put more than one feeder, at least 2 feeding stations. And then once you see everybody's like doing fine, a couple days, then you can take everything out and everything should be fine. But yeah, if you have anybody who's too overly dominant, they will tend to, these guys will become the victim, and they just can't. These
Not
guys, I mean,
good.
you can see how big she is. The standard layer breeds are like twice the size of, she's full size. And so they just become victims.
Yeah, actually fluff.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you very much. So we know that. What was I going to? Okay, I think that's really what I want to talk about that. And the last thing is discussing preventative measures so we don't have silky failure. We don't like silky failure. What I mean by silky failure, bad feathering, sicknesses, etc. Do I even have that in here somewhere? All right, whatever. Environmental and management implications. And we've, like, just general stuff you can apply that we did with lots of other birds. Keeping a filthy coop, number one. You don't want to have filthy coops because especially this time of year, we're getting into spring. So it might be time to take out deep litter systems if you have them, because there might be trap moistures. But
yeah, the very main thing is keep things dry. The ground, the bedding, where they're dwelling.
Yeah, deep litter systems are fine. We've gone over that. Essentially, you're just layering bedding over top of droppings, and it becomes compost. If it's done properly, it needs to be aerated properly. But if it's done properly, a deep litter system works great. And even produces a little bit of warmth because of the decomposition from the microorganisms present in the compost. Okay, so you have air in there. Once it gets wet, okay, wet bedding, it's no longer getting oxygen down there, and the bad organisms start growing, and ammonia starts being cast off from their droppings. So what happens with their droppings, it's nitrogen, and then it gets wet, and off gases as ammonia. And ammonia is a type of nitrogen. It's just called ammonia. So we want to keep it nice and dry there. Also, of course, it's going to promote the growth of disease, and it's bad for their lungs. And they're respiratory animals. They have delicate respiratory systems. They're not mammalian. They're avian, so they're designed for flight. So they have a different kind of breathing apparatus. So they're more sensitive to particulate matter and stagnant or bad air. Have to dip out for kid kitchen, quail, rabbit, nighttime chores. Understandable.
Thanks for stopping.
This has been so informative as always. You guys rock. Thanks, Katie. Yeah, I hope the info was useful. That's the whole, that's the objective, to give practical information and not just talk about nothing like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Although I like Seinfeld.
I wouldn't mind to mention about coccidiosis as well.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so the larger breeds, so anything that lives on the ground, it could be, any kind of animal. Sheep, dogs, if you have them in an area that they don't really move, they stay in the space. Larger animals, coccidiosis is a thing in a stationary area. So chickens as well. The larger breeds, they tend to be hardier. But coccidiosis is something that thrives in damp, moist areas. If somebody ends up getting it, then you do have to treat them.
Yeah.
And usually it's a multi-day, like a 5 to 7 day kind of treatment plan, depending on what you're using. The larger breeds, if you understand what you're looking at and their symptoms and such, then usually you treat them and they bounce back just fine. The Silkies, because they are smaller, if they do get coccidiosis, it's very important. It's very important always to be giving health checks to make sure everybody's healthy in general, so you can notice any changes. But if they start showing any kind of symptoms that show coccidiosis, just like looking lethargic, not eating, you might not even see any kind of manure or anything like that. That looks weird. But if they're starting to look lethargic, not eating as much like the other ones, then it's important to rapidly treat these guys quickly, because since they're so small,
crash out,
they can perish quickly. You're so noisy, I hear you. But yeah, it's very important to just always monitor their health to make sure that everybody looks happy and healthy and good and bright. And if you see any kind of symptoms like that, treat right away. Don't wait, because it's not a harsh treatment, but it's just that these guys can't handle it as well as the bigger breeds. So I just want to really mention that.
Yeah, just learn how to recognize your animals know when what their baseline is, their normal behavior. So when they're out of their normal behavior, the little whistles and bells start going off, so you can address that preemptively before something catastrophic happens. People have a tendency sometimes maybe to jump to harsh conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my chicken's going to die. It was sitting there. It may not.
Yeah.
It may not. You never know. You want to be sure of the cause before being hyper about
But
it.
if you're feeding them proper food, proper nutrition, if they're getting what they need daily, then their immune system will be more robust and they will be stronger and healthier. Chickens, animals, people, creatures that aren't plants that are not getting what they need daily, they look weaker. They're more susceptible to illness, So it's kind of a common sense thing, but it's a thing that has to maintain it daily.
This is true. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about, let's see, what did I do myself? Hygiene, we discussed. I think I lost most about it then.
Yeah. So.
Is that about it? I think that's
talk
about
the
it.
feathers, the skin.
Yeah, feathers, skin, toes,
Okay,
nutrition needs, environmental needs, bully chickens.
that was a question.
Cool. One last question. Roughly how much should one adult Silkie weigh?
I can't give you a certain answer on that.
40 pounds.
I've actually weighed them. They're very light. I don't want to say. I'm not just gonna guess.
Guess here.
Well, I don't know. Are you?
I'm not weighing them because
they're very light. Sorry. So okay, like an Australorp, they're like 6 pounds a hen. So these guys, I think they're around like 2 pounds. They can be like.
That's something you should know.
I've never weighed them. Never thought to weigh them.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry. Yeah, they're just like 1 or 2 pounds. Obviously, like anything that overeats, they can become plump and chubby.
I feel the bones when I pick them up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let me see here.
They're scrawny little birds.
You will feel.
Can I pick them up?
No, I can feel that you're gonna squish her. I think it's the keel bone, which is that breast sharp bone down there in the middle. So you will feel that. They should have, if it's an adult, you're very cute. She should have some flesh or meat in her abdomen area, where they tend to get chubby. Excess chub would be below their vent, this area here. They'll be it's like a storage spot for their fat, and you'll feel it. It feels like a big fleshy area. That's the biggest spot. And you've noticed that when butchering chickens in the past, you've seen when they're fatty. Where else did you ever notice fat deposits?
Around the breast.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should feel.
Chickens deposit fat, and it stresses them just like a people.
You should feel their frame, but she shouldn't feel bony.
Mine are 1.8 to 2.2, so I guess. Okay.
Oh yeah, that sounds pretty normal. Yeah.
How many do you have?
There you go.
Randy. So, anything else about chicken? Oh, one last. Show how to hold the Silkie.
Let's see who's there.
We're going to do one more thing, and then we're going to dip.
This is.
She has 6 of them.
Oh, okay. So chickens in general, but I always talk about the Silkies because, people want to hold them. They're very sensitive to balance. Birds are. So they have. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, don't point that chicken at me.
They have two separate types of balance. So they have one in their head. So when you're moving them around,
it's like a gimbal.
Yeah, it is like a gimbal. She keeps her
head. So if you attach your iPhone to your chicken's head,
it's light. She'll keep it as level as she can. Like you can see her. See how she's keeping her head pretty straight, even though her body is going wonky. So she's aware of the balance in her head, and then when they go to hop or fly, you'll see them calculating before they go.
Yeah, because remember, these birds are avian creatures. They still have their ancient flight relatives mechanisms born into them.
Yeah, and then they're very aware of the balance of their body. So it's important to keep their back parallel to the ground You want to keep her straight, her back straight. As soon as she starts being tilted, you'll see her using her tail to, oh, she's a little too mellow. So the ones that get scared will start using their tail. She's not, oh, she's kind of moving it. They'll start moving their tail to compensate and balance. And then if they're getting scared, that scares them. They feel unbalanced. They might start flapping their wings if they're feeling, see how she's moving her wings around because she's trying to balance. And she doesn't like that. It's uncomfortable. She's starting to twitch her feet. She's very mellow. But anyway, when you want to hold them, you want them to be happy, calm, enjoy the process, enjoy you. So just remember that. Keep her back flat. So when you're holding her here, this whole time you've seen me holding her with her back flat, sometimes people want to be like, oh, I want to see your cute eyes. And they'll start tilting them like this. And usually they freak out because they're like slanted and it scares them. She's just really mellow. But if you want to look at their pretty eyes, just pick them up to your eyes.
Oh, one other thing important too, their respiratory system is quite delicate. So these birds, they don't have diaphragms. They can't, if you put them on their back, they start suffocating.
Yeah.
And they have unidirectional oxygenation. The air just goes one direction through their lungs. They don't breathe in and out like we do, fill lungs and exhale. They breathe in and they have billow systems. They actually have air sacs that push the air straight through their lungs, so they constantly have fresh air. When we breathe in, we exhale, we have stale air sitting in here. Remember, they're designed for flight, so they always have fresh air in there to get throughout their bloodstream. So when you're holding, they have a delicate bellows, like the thing for the fireplace, bellows, air sac system.
So you don't want to squeeze them.
You have the magic touch. I'm still working on it.
So you don't want to squeeze them. I'm just kind of holding her like I'm holding a ball. Sometimes often when I'm meeting people who are getting their new dino pups, they're usually a little younger than her. So I can hold them in one hand and I'll kind of put my fingers in between their legs, in between my fingers of my one hand, so that I have extra control so they can't kick around and struggle. And then I'll kind of pin the one wing underneath my thumb like that. So fingers are pinching the legs, holding her breast, and then holding the wing. Sometimes I'll hold the other wing with my pinky, and then I can move them around and they're contained and they feel safe. But yeah, again, you don't want to squeeze them. Like Christopher just explained, their complicated respiratory system. And then sometimes you'll see them kind of like pant a little, and it's because they're just being squeezed. Another thing to keep in mind is their crop is right here. She's very full because she had her big dinner and it's like the size of a golf ball, her food in there. So you don't, when you're holding them, just keep in mind not to like, squish that. Sometimes they'll kind of drool because you're kind of pushing the food and the fluids that they just drank, the saliva coming up the water that, stop here. They'll push it out.
I'm like
so
Lenny from
keep
Mice and Men.
in mind their crop with their food right, at the base of their neck. You don't want to squash that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, very cool. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a Silkie. Practically everything, that's clickbait. I said everything you need to know about Silkies.
Yeah, there's much more.
I didn't go over their eye anatomy. I didn't go over their beak formation. No. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was pretty much a lot of good stuff about Silkie. So that's the general stuff you should know. A lot of it. I think we covered most everything. Mm-hmm. And I hope you guys enjoyed that and find the value. If so, give it a like, sub it up, send it out to your friends and family. Say, oh my goodness gracious, check out this Silkie chicken video with that lady and that weird guy.
I'm that lady.
Yeah, that's that lady.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for coming in. Donis, if you're still here, I hope you're staying warm down there. She's in Haiti in the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're up in southern Pennsylvania where it's chilly. Mm-hmm. Alex, thank you for coming in. Brandy, I don't know if Brandy was in here before. I don't know. Maybe. If you were, thanks for coming back. Yeah. If not, hope to see you again.
Yeah, subscribe to our channel if you guys like what you're seeing. We like to do educational stuff on our YouTube channel.
Oh my God. And then spring's coming up, and I'm not like this is a small channel, so I'll put my adventures from outdoors on here. And we do a lot of outdoors adventures. That's why I learn about how to cook and how to stay healthy because I like doing the outdoor stuff and enjoying like activity. So you got to stay healthy for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and very lucky. I'm very blessed. I don't have any medical issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But yeah, you know, you want
so
to
you can do that. So I'll
meet,
share that on here.
make sure you're
Or
taking
outdoor
care of
stuff.
yourself so that you guys can be active and enjoy your life as well.
Well, thanks, Brittany. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, it was nice seeing you guys. It is time to put chickens back to sleep
Mm-hmm.
and time to watch Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Have a wonderful evening and day whenever you're watching this later.
See you.
Bye.